A person told me a story about this young man that happened to him in 2018. He had just finished his college career. He was in the best shape of his life. And one day he was on campus in 2018 and he felt a sudden thump within his chest and he had trouble breathing. And so he goes the rest of the day trying to figure out what's going on. He's struggling to breathe. He doesn't know what's happening. He tries to sleep it off that night. And when he goes to bed that night, he's not able to sleep. He's only awake for maybe about 15, 30 minutes because he was struggling to sleep. And so he made a decision to go to the clinic the next day. He goes into the clinic, tells them what's happening. They take him into the back and they do an x-ray. And within 10 minutes, the ambulance is blaring to the clinic and they come in and they say, your right lung has collapsed. And so in that moment, he has no idea how this happened or why this happened. And so they rush him in the ambulance. They take him to the emergency room. He's calling his family. He's calling his friends. Everybody is panicking. And then he gets into the emergency room and the supposed smartest person in the room, the doctor, walks in. And the doctor walks in and he begins to ask the young man a question. He says, does lung disease run in your family? The young man says, no, sir. He says, are you obese? The young man says, no, sir, I'm in the best shape of my life. He asks the young man, do you smoke? He says, no, sir, I don't. And so in this moment, there's a question that's being asked. Neither does the person know, nor does the doctor know. And so this young man's life is in jeopardy based on a question that nobody in the room knows. And so in that moment, the doctor has to make the best decision. He didn't necessarily know what the right decision was, but he had to make the best decision. On tomorrow, you're going to face a question that you may not know the answer to. I'm not asking you to select the right decision, but I'm asking you to make the best decision. Because in this moment, this young man's life was in jeopardy. And so that happened in 2018. And so what they ended up identifying that as was a spontaneous pneumothorax. This was a freak lung accident. And so what they did, they went in, they inflated the lung, they plastered it to his rib cage, and they said this is 1 in a million chance that this will ever happen again. And so that was in 2018. 2024, August 2024, the young man wakes up 2 o'clock in the morning. He's having these same symptoms that he had in 2018, and he immediately recognizes what's possibly happening. And so he drives himself to the emergency room, 3 o'clock in the morning. He gets to the emergency room, they do an x-ray, and then they come back and they tell him your right lung has collapsed again. The same doctor comes right back into the room, begins to ask the questions again. The young man does not know the answer to the question. The doctor does not know how in a million chance this happened yet again. And so in that moment, the doctor had to make the best decision. But not only did the doctor have to make the best decision, the young man was faced with questions. Would this continue to happen in my life? Was my life in jeopardy? And in that moment, the young man had to make the best decision because that young man is still here and that young man is me. After having 2 right lung collapses with no answer, I had to make the best decision to continue to live my life. Tomorrow's an opportunity for you to chase something great. Even if you don't know the answer fully, it's an opportunity for you to make the best decision. Tomorrow, we think that oftentimes it's these standardized tests and they don't mean nothing. But they mean everything because it teaches you how to live your life. It teaches you how to go through the tests in life. What if life presents you with a question that you don't know the answer to? How to pay your bills, how to put food on the table. You can't just chunk up any type of answer and just say, I don't know. But in those moments, you got to find a way to make the best decision. And so tomorrow, not only do I want you to answer the questions that you do know, but for the ones that you don't, I want you to think about your life. I want you to put yourself in a situation asking yourself, what would I do if I didn't know the answer? If my mom didn't know the answer for my life, what would she do? If my dad didn't know the answer to that question, what would he do? And oftentimes, it's to be able to make the best decision.
You gotta be able to dream again. After you accomplish that one dream, you owe it to yourself, you owe it to God, you owe it to your family to be able to do it again, to dream again. But when you dream again, you're not only dreaming for yourself, somebody else